I have just pleated my piece for the smock along pattern, and I wanted to show you the different ways of blocking ahead of time. I know some people have had some questions about that. So what I did was I squished my pleats up really tight together, made sure they were all standing the way they should be, none were folded over. Sometimes you have to give a little tug to the top and the bottom to get them to stand right, and then you squish them all up. Now on one side I tied them off a certain way, and on the other side I tied them off a different way. So I'm going to show you both ways. First is blocking before you smock. Some people ask, what is blocking? Blocking is making sure that your insert is going to fit what it needs to fit later. So what I've done on one side is I've tied them off close to the pleats. So first what you do is you unpick it from the seam allowance. So if you notice, I took the pleating threads out from the very edges, and then what I would do is I would measure the width of the insert and make sure it measures what the blocking guide in the pattern says. You should always have a finished blocking guide or a template or something in your pattern where you can compare it to. So say my finished width is supposed to be 8 inches, and this measures 8 inches, and then I'm going to tie off each side really close to the edge like that. The benefit in doing this is that when you are smocking, you know exactly what your finished width is going to be. You know how tightly you need to smock. You know how your stitches are going to look after they're stretched out or pulled together. So, and you also don't have these orange threads sticking out and bothering you while you're smocking. The downside to it is it's very hard to stretch it afterwards. If you decide that you need to make it an inch or two wider, it's very hard to stretch it because you've already got these knots real close to the edges. So I don't do it this way, but I can see the benefit in doing it. It's much neater working on it that way. The way that I do it is the ugly way, and I leave the threads really long, and then I tie a knot in them all together. Now when I smock this, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have that seam allowance, but your stitches are going to be the things that are holding those pleats together. So I know some people were getting a little frustrated because right here at the edge, when they're doing their first smocking stitches, if they're doing the cable row on row 2, their stitches are kind of floppy here on the edge. Now this will get caught in the seam allowance. You don't have to worry about it. Also, the more rows you smock, the more it's going to pull that pleat in where it should be. So it's up to you which way you want to do it. The nice way of doing it this way is that you can stretch it or pull it, whatever. You have a little bit more maneuverability afterwards. Now after I have this just like this, whichever way you're going to tie off, then I'm going to spray it really well with spray starch or magic sizing or best press, whatever you want to use. Spray it really well and then let it dry overnight, or get out a hair dryer if you want to start right away and dry it. It makes a huge difference with your needle going through the pleats. It makes a huge difference with your pleats standing straight up the way they should be. If you have ordered an insert, they have already done all of this for you, so you don't need to do any of this. But if you are pleating it yourself, either by hand or by machine, then you want to spray it before you start. Now when you start, you'll notice we've got these rows of gathering threads. There should be 10 of them. The top one and the bottom one are holding rows. You don't smock on those rows. Those rows are to help you later when you construct it, and you will be glad that you have them. So you don't want to start your cable row on row 1, you want to start it on row 2. Same thing with the bottom. You don't want to start it on the very bottom, you want to start it on the row right above for that last cable row. And I think that's it for getting started. I will stop this here now, and I will start the cable stitch row so you can see what that stitch looks like when you make it, and then we'll go on to the next stitch after that.